Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the KSL.com Game Center podcast. It is Friday, February 10th. We made it. It's Friday. It's almost a weekend. And you know what the weekend means? It means more sports, and in this season, more hoops. And to talk about one of the biggest hoops matchups here in the state of Utah this weekend, we are joined by Sean Walker. How you doing this fine Friday, Sean?
I'm so excited, Caleb, to talk about BYU's trip to the Kennel against Gonzaga. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about that. Not at all. Weird.
We we we
Weird.
we got you guys.
We gotcha.
Hook, line, and sinker.
You're in. Thanks for listening to that ad at the start of this pre-roll.
You know that would have been we could talk about BYU, both of us spending a decent amount of time down there in Provo. But I'm a little less inclined to.
Yeah, does anybody want to listen to that though?
Especially after whatever happened last night in Malibu with BYU. Hopes aren't as high as
okay. Let's go there. Let's go there just for like 2 minutes because I do want to ask you, Caleb, what did happen last night in Malibu?
It was embarrassing, honestly. I was kind of dual watching. I was flipping a little bit back and forth between the Lakers Bucks game and BYU Pepperdine. And it was a close game for a lot of it. I Pepperdine had only won 8 games the entire season coming into that game, one in WCC play before that, so doubled their win total, as you rightly stated in your article last night.
Did you see their first win last Saturday against Portland?
No, I didn't.
It was the most incredible thing in the world. Look it up. There's some highlights there. I won't spoil it too much because I can't fully describe exactly what happened. But essentially, Pepperdine went from being down 4 with like 4 seconds left to winning on a buzzer beater. It was wild. Like, it involved like technical fouls and like another intentionally missed free throw, and then a buzzer beater with like 0.8 seconds left or whatever is like the minimum amount of time for a catch and shoot. Like, it was absolutely incredible. I don't know how it happened, but it was wild. And now the Waves are on a winning streak.
Well, and like this seems to be a recurring thing with the Waves now of like, I don't know how it happened, right? Like, they had that insane shot last night where the guy's going for an alley-oop pass from midcourt and it just goes in the basket. Like, there's just insane, lucky, weird things going on with that team where BYU just kind of went up against some kind of supernatural force that it was not prepared for.
Yeah, Pepperdine shot almost 58% from the field last night. I think 11 3-pointers in total on the night. Basically everything was going in.
Yeah.
And like, you can say, oh, maybe that's bad defense on BYU, but perhaps on some plays. I thought they could have gone to his own defense a little bit earlier than they did. Mark Pope's had some nice success with that 1-3-1 zone. And you saw a little bit of it in the second half, but it was kind of too little too late. But a lot of it was also just Pepperdine making like ridiculous shots, like that half quarter you were talking about by Houston Millett. Like, sometimes you just kind of got to go like, okay, well, this is one of those nights. So see if you can keep up with them and score with them. And BYU didn't win the track meet, but
yeah,
we're not here to talk too much about WCC hoops. We're here to talk about some WAC hoops. I think
WAC, baby.
WAC.
Right. That is big facts, because we have a big matchup going down in Orem tomorrow evening between the Utah Valley Wolverines and the Southern Utah Thunderbirds. Sean, I know, possibly more than anybody who covers sports in this state, you're a guy to cover the underdog, to cover the less exposed, the less popular teams, and this is a matchup for the people. I think this is something that a lot of Utahns can take pride in. The top 2 teams in the WAC right now are in Utah, and these 2 teams are going at it tomorrow in Orem. What more do you want?
Yeah, it's incredible that a year after the WAC's kind of most recent round of massive expansion and whatever, they've got 6 schools in the state of Texas. The league HQ has moved to Arlington, Texas. Like, they are all in on the great state of Texas. Shout out to your home state. I don't want to knock it, because I'm really not. Like the WAC is all in on Texas right now. But it is kind of interesting to see the top two teams in the Western Athletic Conference in the Beehive State, in Utah Valley, 10-2 in league play, 19-6 overall, and Southern Utah 17-8 overall, 9-3 in the league. SUU really needs a win in Orem to try to keep up with the Wolverines at the top of the WAC standings. They dropped one last week at Utah Tech, which maybe we can get into in a little bit in a moment here. But in a league where so much is focused on Texas because of recent expansion, and rightfully so, again, like I don't think it's necessarily unrightfully so, it is interesting to see Utah Valley and Southern Utah just having these incredible breakout seasons and really putting themselves in contention to get that WAC auto bid at the end of the year for an NCAA tournament berth.
Yeah, you mentioned Texas being my home state, and I'll never deny that. I still consider it to be my home state. Grew up there in San Antonio, but Utah is definitely my adopted home state, and I live here now, and so I'm very proud of what's going on. Lived in the Provo Orem area for a while and had a lot of friends that went to UVU. So shout out to them. I went to the BYU UVU game last year in Orem. And I gotta say, Sean, that environment at the UCCU Center, I don't know that I've ever been in a college basketball environment like what I experienced there in Orem. It was pretty insane, and a big reason for why teams like BYU have gone in there and had a lot of trouble. And so, not only is it going to be tough for SUU to go up there and battle, but I think it's just going to be, just a classic, intense college basketball atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's tough for a lot of teams. It's the UCCU Center has the potential to be, and I've told this with people both inside the organization and outside the organization, even some UVU fans on campus. The UCCU Center has the potential to be one of, if not the most feared places to play, certainly in the Western Athletic Conference, and maybe arguably on the West Coast in college basketball. Like the way the sound kind of sticks around the court, I think is unique. There are no bad seats in that arena. Like it's built for so much more than just basketball, where it's impossible to find a bad seat. It's only a 5,500 seat arena, so obviously that helps a little bit. And when you sell that thing out, and when you pack that place, and when you really get a truly great atmosphere, like last year against BYU, it really is among the best on the West Coast. Now, getting there to that point has also been a little bit of a conundrum for some marketing folks around UVU and some of the I call them the few, the bold, and the emboldened in the UVU student section. I don't say that to knock those UVU fans. Like they really are. They are much better people than me. Just there week in and week out, really trying to build something, really trying to drum up a fan base for a largely commuter campus. It's tough. It's really, really tough to do. But when things click right, you get the right combination of opponent, big game, meaningful stakes, and a UVU team that's really fun to watch. By the way, all three of those things, I think you will have this Saturday against Southern Utah. It really can be magical down in Orem. It's so much of it is about bringing in a big time opponent for a big time atmosphere, and I think SUU is very much a big time opponent. They don't have necessarily the name recognition of a lot of programs, but like I mentioned, 17-8 on the season, 9-3 in WAC play. They're only a game behind UVU in the WAC standings for number one. This is a team that has the most potent offense in the country, literally leading the country in points per game right now. And they've got, let me count them, 1, 2, 3 of the top 10 all-time scorers in SUU history right now playing on the same team, in Mason Fawcett, Harrison Butler, and Tevion Jones as well. So it's senior laden. It's fun to watch. It's highly offensive. They play pretty good defense too, by the way. I mean, Todd Simon is not going to completely ignore defensive principles in Cedar City. That's what he does. But it is also an offense first team. They shot 76% from the field in the second half of a comeback win the other night against Tarleton State. 76% from the field. Like it's offensive. They know how to play basketball. And I think it's going to be a really good game on Saturday.
Yeah, you know, let's chat about kind of these two programs for a second. You mentioned Todd Simon, coach of the T-Birds at SUU. He's obviously a very experienced college basketball coach. And then at UVU, you've got Mark Madsen, who is an interesting kind of character with his, you know, NBA past, and then coming to UVU and kind of doing what he's done to try and continue just kind of this culture of like good vibes underdog that Mark Pope started, where they're just like really fun to root for. And so I'm curious, you know, how you've seen maybe these two programs just over the last few years be kind of shaped by these two coaches to the point where they are top two in the WAC.
Yeah, and they're both doing it. What I really love about these two programs is they're both doing it with a lot of local kids, with a lot of kind of under recruited high school basketball players from the state of Utah. I've said it before, and I'll continue to drum this beat again. BYU and Utah can't get all of the truly great high school basketball players and club basketball players on the Wasatch Front. Like they all need a home. Even Utah State can't house them all. And yeah, you're going to go out of state and find what you need, pick and choose here and there. But there is so much talent in this state, and UVU and SUU are really proving it. I mean, right now, I think you can make an argument that UVU's best player is senior forward Mason Fawcett, the 6'6", 235-pounder from Saratoga Springs, started at Westlake High School across the bay from me in Utah County. I mean, this is a guy who is he's a double waiting to happen. He's averaging 12, almost 13 points and about 6.5 rebounds per game. He's been a double figure scorer for each of the last 3 seasons for the Thunderbirds. And right now is really his time to shine. He came back for a 5th season, a COVID season, just so that he could take advantage of this unique opportunity in college basketball. And he's doing a really nice job leading Southern Utah at the moment. And then for UVU, yes, they are laden with transfers. Utah Valley has a very, I'll say, unique setup where they have the ability to take transfers, maybe easier than some other schools. And Mark Madsen has certainly played that to his strength. I don't blame him. I think you absolutely should. They've got guys coming in here. They've got JUCO transfers. They've got guys coming in from Coastal Carolina, from BYU, UNLV, Weber State. They've got a he's listed at 6'5", but I'll be surprised if he's above 6'2" guard named Tosh Small from Tarleton. They've got some international guys from Brazil. Their best player is from Senegal, and Aziz Bandago. He's an Akron transfer, by the way. So Madsen's doing a very good job of like assembling this kind of Avenger style roster of transfers and international players. But in a lot of ways, the base of his recruiting is still guys from in-state. Guys like Ethan Potter, the freshman out of Layton High School, who had a nice little kind of second half breakout the other night against Cal Baptist. He's going to be a big part of this UVU team going forward. I also heard from a couple of my prep contacts last night that there's a really exciting signee or potential signee that should be in the pipeline coming in this May from the state of Utah. I can't say anything more than that, but let's just say it could be really good for the Wolverines if things materialize. And then, of course, there's somebody like Blaze Neal, the senior point guard, transfer from BYU, from Lehigh High School, who had a stopover at USU Eastern, who in a lot of ways has been kind of an engine for this Utah Valley team. He's only averaging 4.5 points per game right now. And he's sort of been moving back and forth from the starting lineup to the bench. But when he's able to get his 3 or 4 assists per game and limit those turnovers, knock down a 3 here and there, like he's been exactly what UVU needs to sort of get over the hump in a lot of ways, alongside guys like Bondego and Trey Woodbury, the outside threat who can also get up, and I mean up, like way up, and throw the ball down. Like this is a really fun team. I didn't even mention Justin Harmon, by the way, the junior guard out of Chicago, Illinois. who might be their best player when he's really on. So there's a lot of really good talent on here, but I do love that both of these teams have huge key pieces from the Wasatch front that are playing a big factor in their respective seasons.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time talking about teams like BYU and Utah State, and rightfully so for a lot of the time, right? I mean, these are very good programs, but the way things are going this season, I mean, there's a pretty likely scenario where the only representative from the state of Utah in March Madness in the NCAA tournament is one of these two teams, either UVU or SUU. And so I think that's a pretty crazy kind of scenario to imagine, but also, it puts a lot of weight on this matchup tomorrow, and it really brings a lot of hype. Like you mentioned, those students down in Orem, they like to kind of rally around these big games, and not only is SUU a very good team, but it's an in-state rivalry to an extent. Maybe not specifically these two teams, but anytime you have an in-state team coming into your arena, there's a little bit of pride on the line. There's some bragging rights on the line, certainly. And so I'm super excited to see what goes down tomorrow in Orem. Great atmosphere, like you mentioned. They've got their the green drum line, the guys that wear like those full green suits. It's always fun to watch on
The
the
Green Man
sideline.
group, yeah.
The Green Man group, thank you. Yeah. Those guys are always a lot of fun. And they have, in my opinion, they've kind of built a little bit of like this culture down there with UVU basketball in the UCCU Center. So I think this is a big moment. And when all is said and done, it could either be a coronation of sorts of UVU as like the power, as like the team to beat in the WAC, or it could be an upset, which is always fun in sports, with SEU going into Orem and coming out with a win. So whatever happens, 6 p.m. Tomorrow in Orem. I know you'll be there, Sean, and it'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, that was a big one. That was a big thing that I stopped by UVU this week to watch that Cal Baptist game on Wednesday night, and I was talking a little bit with Madsen afterwards about that game coming up, kind of keeping focused on that game against Cal Baptist and another double-digit win for the Wolverines, and also looking ahead to that in-state rivalry. And that was one thing that Madsen definitely mentioned, was he loves these in-state rivalry games. Like when you have a rivalry game that has sort of that in-state power behind it, with supporters and players and sometimes even coaches that have gone back and forth between the two schools, like there's just a little something extra special right there. In fact, Caleb, I'm going to send this to you right now. Let's listen really quick. It's only about a minute long. What Madsen had to say about that rivalry game.
Well, I think, we say it as a staff. I say it as the head coach all the time. Hey, every single game in conference, it's a one-game series. We want to try to go 1-0. And what's nice is our players, the leaders in the locker room, they're really the people that are doing it. It's a player-led team. We have great leadership in the locker room, from team captains all the way down to players that are in their first year. And so the players really do a great job of helping keep the guys locked in. That's what you want. I mean, that's what you want, Sean. You've seen so many teams. It's when you have that type of leadership. And by the way, we've had lapses this year, but I was proud of the focus tonight. Well, I just know how much respect we have for the Southern Utah. Number one, the basketball program. Number two, the university, the supporters, the fans down there. I'm excited for the game. It's going to be a great basketball game. I think in-state rivalries, especially conference in-state rivalries, are great for the game of basketball. I know they're excited about the game. They still have a game to play tomorrow, so they're not looking forward either. But I know they will be excited, and we're going to be really excited too, and it's going to be a great basketball game.
That was UVU coach Mad Dog Madsen, Mark Madsen, out at Utah Valley, talking about that Southern Utah rivalry game. And you heard it right there. Like there's something special when you get two teams. They're less than 3-hour drive apart. They've got like fan bases and alumni bases that overlap on a pretty daily basis. Like as big as this game is for the WAC, it might be bigger in some ways, Caleb, for like in-state supremacy. Maybe on a smaller schedule than like a BYU Utah rivalry, but still on a scale that matters in many ways.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that clip from Mad Dog, Mark Madsen. It's kind of funny. I've been participating in a church ball league up here in Salt Lake, and my my ward, my team is called the Madison Young Single Adult Ward, and we call ourselves the Mad Dogs. So I feel a little bit of a kinship there with our guy Mark Madsen, and hope that it's a good night for him tomorrow in Orem.
We'll see if the Wolverines can channel the spirit of the other Mad Dogs.
I'm not
the
sure.
Mad Dogs up north.
I'm not sure they want to. As church ball goes, I'm sure many who have listened know that there's a little bit of extracurriculars that tend to happen when some out of shape people get together in a church gym to play some basketball. But that I'm sure that is not what will be happening tomorrow in the UCCU Center. Like you mentioned, well coached, well put together teams, and it should be a great display of some competitive basketball. So make sure if you guys are in the area, go check it out, or just follow these teams. It should be a fun matchup to watch. So thanks, Sean, for coming on. And that has been the KSL.com Game Center podcast for today. We'll see you guys next week.